Joining me right now is Colorado Congressman, House Judiciary Committee member, along with Foreign Affairs Committee member Ken Buck. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us. Characterized the defense team yesterday. What did you hear?
Well, I heard a very clear case that if the Senate calls witnesses, Joe Biden is going to be embarrassed, and the Obama administration is going to be embarrassed for their role in this whole Ukrainian episode.
Do you think that's the right tack here in terms of the president's defense? Look, you want witnesses? Fine. We'll have these witnesses, and then we want those witnesses. I mean, this opens up a whole can of worms, and it possibly, as you suggest, could be bad for the prosecution.
Well, I think the real problem here is the House Democrats didn't do their job. They didn't go to court. They didn't force witnesses into the House. And so we don't know exactly what's going to be said if Senate witnesses are called. The House Democrats called 18 different witnesses. The House Republicans got 0. No chance to call a witness. If the Senate does call witnesses, they should not do a one-for-one trade on witnesses, because it is already so lopsided that I think the president and Republicans should have an opportunity to be heard.
Congressman, Kelly Torrance here. Of course, the House didn't even try to subpoena John Bolton. What are you and your fellow Republicans make of some of the arguments we heard yesterday that if there were allowed to be witnesses that weren't called by the House, which is the body that's supposed to do the investigating, that it sets a bad precedent, that in the future a House could send over impeachment articles and make the Senate do its work for it?
Yeah, I think it's a terrible precedent. The House should be the investigating arm of the impeachment process. It didn't do its job. It rushed through the job, and then Speaker Pelosi held on to those articles of impeachment and didn't send them over. There was this terrible rush that somehow the president was a threat to our republic, and we had to get rid of him right away. And then they held on to these articles of impeachment. So they were inconsistent in their actions, and I think that if they call witnesses, you've got a lot of senators that are going to end up on both sides of that. Think about Joe Biden doesn't want witnesses called. Senator Sanders wants to get back on the campaign trail on the one hand, but he'd love to have Hunter Biden testifying in the Senate. So I think there's a conflict on the Democrat side as well as the Republican side.
Yeah, Congressman, do you think it was the Democrats might come to regret giving President Trump's team a chance on national television to go through what they call Joe Biden's corruption? We saw Hunter Biden, in his own words, talking about how he was hired because of his last name.
Right, I think it is. I think you're seeing a 3 or 4 day campaign commercial for the Republicans, just as you saw a 3 or 4 day campaign commercial for the Democrats before. And I think now the real question is, does the American public even care? Because I think people are tuning out and moving on to the Super Bowl, moving on to other things, and I'm not sure that they're really paying attention at this point.
So, Congressman, do you think we're going to see witnesses? Are some GOP senators saying that they want to see witnesses at this point, following the memoir from John Bolton and the revelations there?
I think we may see 1 or 2 witnesses. I think that ultimately there will be a group of Republican senators that come together. And I think the argument really is what Professor Dershowitz said, and that is, if all of these facts are true, it still doesn't rise to the level of an impeachable offense. And that's the argument that I think will hold sway with most, if not all, of the Republican senators.
All right, we will see. We will be watching. Thank you so much, Congressman Ken Buck. Good to see you, sir.